I first got here,
Yeah.
7th grade, I went to this school in Maryland. It's called Argyle Middle School, and I did not like, because of that experience, like in school, throughout my years of high school, everything, I didn't like African American people. I didn't like them.
Did you get bullied?
Yeah.
I see.
And so most of my friends in my classes were Caucasian, because like the classes I took like advanced classes, all those type of things, and a lot of people, they weren't like too many. So, well, me personally, I didn't like, for the longest time, I just like had this negative connotation of like African American people.
In what way?
Because like on the media, like they're so loud, they're ghetto, they're this or whatever. And then I had the experience in school, so I was like, oh, this validates everything that's said about, you know, African American people. But then when I went to college, so I went from like all white, and then I went to school in DC to all black population.
Yeah.
It was just like, for me, it was a culture shock. Even though it's like, I'm not switching cultures, but it's just like...
You saw intelligent black African Americans?
Yeah, and a mix of everybody, like non-intelligent.
Yeah. That's...
Like one time I was in PE class, and this guy literally threw a basketball at my chest. It literally knocked the breath out of me, and I was like in a lot of pain. I couldn't breathe, all those things. And then they'll say different things. You know, I had the accent, all those type of things.
Yeah.
So I just like wrote, like I was like, yeah, I'm not friends with African American people. I was
Do you
like,
feel
nope.
like it was easy for you to be friends with Caucasians or white people?
And everybody else, and like, yes, exactly.
Hey guys, welcome again to another episode. This is Blazy. Yo, listen, I have to use very less words in describing this day. How can I even start? I've been waiting for this day for a very long time, and finally, God Almighty has made it true for me. The Queen is in the house, the Queen of Nigeria. Listen, the Queen of Africa, the Queen of the planet. How can I even describe you? Anyway, but just before we jump into the podcast itself, I want to say that if this is your first time watching this video or watching my videos, please do me a favor, click subscribe button so we can grow together. And if you're one of the frequent viewers, like the video, send us a comment or send us any question that you have so we can even make future experiences better.
After almost 2 hours of driving, that's cool.
You know, America is easy, so you don't need to complain so much.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not complaining.
If you are in Abuja or Enugu...
No, Lagos, the traffic is like crazy right now. That's in December and all that stuff. So
I'm going to throw an arrow to you straight in the chest, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
You've lived in the US since when you were like 12 years old. And there's always this divide between Africans and African Americans.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I have to drop
No. I have completely, like, when I first got here, 7th grade, I went to this school in Maryland. It's called Argyle Middle School, and I did not like, because of that experience, like in school, throughout my years of high school, everything, I didn't like African American people. I didn't like them.
Did you get bullied?
Yeah. Like one time I was in PE class, and this guy literally threw a basketball at my chest. It literally knocked the breath out of me. And I was like in a lot of pain. I couldn't breathe, all those things. And then they'll say different things. You know, I had the accent, all those type of things.
Yeah.
So I just like wrote, like I was like, yeah, I'm not friends with African American people. I was
Do you
like,
feel
nope.
like it was easy for you to be friends with Caucasians or white people?
And everybody else. And like, yes, exactly. And then because the class I was in, they put me in ESOL class, English as a second language, and most of the people in the classrooms were not African American. They were like other from Hispanics or Indians or like Asians or whatever. So I acclimated better, like I, got gelled better with them. And then my mom in 8th grade, she moved us to another city, and it's more predominantly Caucasian.
I see.
And so most of my friends in my classes were Caucasian, because like the classes I took like advanced classes, all those type of things, and a lot of people, they weren't like too many.
And why do you think there's this divide? Because I've lived in the US for the last 6 years. I always lose track. And there's a very strong enmity between Africans and African Americans, and people kind of try to avoid it.
Yeah.
But it's there.
It is there.
When everybody, with each group, I won't be on favors of Africans or African Americans, but every time they gather, these two groups are gathered together, sometimes they can demolish each other to death. Why do you think that happens? Because you've been here, at least you've gone through that experience.
So, well, me personally, I didn't, like, for the longest time, I just, like, had this negative connotation of, like, African American people.
In what way?
Because, like, on the media, like, they're so loud, they're ghetto, they're this or whatever. And then I had the experience in school. So I was like, oh, this validates everything that's said about, you know, African American people. But then when I went to college, so I went from, like, all white, and then I went to school in D.C., to all black population. It was just like, for me, it was a culture shock. Even though it's like, I'm not switching cultures, but it's just like...
You saw intelligent black African Americans?
And a mix of everybody, like non-intelligent.
That's true.
No, it was a mix of everybody. And I remember like my first day of class, we had this... like a freshman orientation class or whatever, where they like your first semester, you know, you're with, I don't, like in high school they call it homeroom. In college, I forgot what it's called, like something, whatever, to get you acclimated to college life. And so there's this girl, like we're introducing ourselves and like, oh, tell me 2 truths and a lie, all those type of things. And this girl was like, oh, and I watched Saturday Night Live and stuff. So this girl, she was like, oh yeah, my name's Shaniqua Williams and and all that stuff. And I busted out laughing because I thought she was joking. I didn't know Shaniqua was the actual name.
Oh, so Shaniqua. Because
Because on Saturday Night Live, it was like, oh, they had like all these ghetto names, Bon Cree, Shaniqua, Day Day, and all these things. So I thought it was like a joke. And I was just like, wait, that's your real name? And she's like, yeah. And this girl did not like me for like...
a long time.
Like a semester or something. But she like, I like tried... put in effort to like make her like me, like, okay, like I'm sorry, like I didn't mean to, like I didn't know, and it was like ignorance or whatever. So
I'm looking forward to having an African American actually for, I think, in my next podcast.
But I feel like the reason why is because like Africans, most of the time they feel like they come here and like we can be successful, or like we have all this opportunity, and if they feel like black people are wasting the opportunities, I've had the conversation with people before, and they're like, oh, how come we come here and we go to school and this and that, we hustle hard and all that stuff, and all they want to do is be on welfare. And I was like, but there's like a whole other side of like every race has those type of people you're describing.
I think if you come from Africa, if you migrate from Africa and come to the US, you have an agenda because you have your uncles, like
your whole family back home.
When you're leaving, and let's say Kenya or Nigeria, they'll take you to the airport and they'll remind you, don't forget.
Don't forget the laptop you told me about, or the phone. Or
as soon as you arrive in the US, nothing hits your mind but just work and make money and help your people back home and pay your bills. But you know, African Americans, they're born here. They
don't have that sense of like, oh, it's my obligation to do this for my mom, to do this for my nieces. And that's why they'll be so
vocal on this like social justice stuff. Because you know, if you ask many Africans if they've experienced racism, they'll tell you, really no, they haven't. But I feel like every time I ask an African American, they'll tell you everywhere. And you'll be like, why? I can't see it unless you open your eyes.
Personally, like I'll tell you about an experience in Taiwan. I was a teacher at a Bushiban, like a international school, but really it's all Taiwanese kids. And I taught little kids, and then my coworker, she's South African. She taught like middle schoolers and elementary schoolers. So I was in the classroom one time, and I have 2 experiences. I was in the classroom one time, and this girl, this student, I was sitting down, and the student, I had my afro out, and I was the only black teacher in the school. My South African friend, she's colored or mixed or whatever you call them, so she's not like black or whatever. So I'm sitting down on the board and all that stuff, and then the student just came and like put her hand in my hair. Wow, teacher, your hair's so soft. And I was just like, okay. And then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna react to it.
That's right.
So a couple of days go by, and then everybody's sitting down. As she's sitting down, I went and I put my hand in her hair, and I was like, wow, your hair is so silky. And she goes, teacher, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, are you bothered by it? Yes, teacher, you're invading my space, my privacy. And I was just like, oh. I was like, remember 3 days ago
you did this
when you walked in and you put your hand in my hair?
Yeah.
How'd you think that made me feel? And she goes, oh. Like,
I
she
see.
realized it.
Yeah.
And another experience, this kid was singing a song.
Yeah.
And then he was like, hey, teacher, you're a nigger, right? And I was just like,
Oh, I know.
what? And then he said it again, and he thought it was funny, and the other classmates were laughing, ha ha ha, and all that stuff. And I could have reacted like,
In a negative way, yeah.
like screamed or whatever, like, like,
Yeah.
But I took it as like, oh, it's a learning opportunity. They don't know this, or maybe they do. I don't know. So I had a conversation with the Chinese teacher that's like managing the director or whatever, and I was like, hey, he said this word in class twice. He thought it was funny.
It's not funny.
This and this. I need you to tell me if there's a similar word for people, the indigenous people in Taiwan, that's derogatory. Find me that word.
You're really fighting. Okay.
So she found it, and she was like, okay, she's going to, I was like, all right, well, next class, I need you to come in, talk to them, explain to them the gravity of this word, and, this and this. I'm a teacher, so I have to do a teaching moment for everything. So she came in, explained, and she was like, as soon as she said the word in Chinese, I can't remember the word, but she said it, everybody goes, oh, and they understood.
Yeah,
so, and then I also told them, I was like, okay, to me, I don't find it offensive. But if you had like an African American teacher, they might not like. So you got to be careful how you say things and all those things. So a lot of the times when I was in Taiwan, I would let like if Taiwanese people want to touch my hair or my skin, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm cool with it. But I'm like, oh, if you see another black person, don't do that. Ask for permission first, or just don't.
Actually, I feel when you call an African a nigger, they don't feel
it doesn't,
as much as when you, because actually, let me just be fair. I'll say this in the camera.
Yeah.
The first time I was called a nigger was by a young 6-year-old girl. And she was with her mom. So we were like hanging around, playing games, and then she just dropped that language quick. And I would say that the young girl was very innocent. The parents were the ones who were guilty.
Yeah.
It's like, what do they do at home?
Yeah, what are they
kind of
teaching
things
the kids?
they're teaching the kids? Now, because the kids has no boundaries. You look at you, be like, oh, this is what my dad says. I'm going to just drop it because this is the only chance. And I saw the parents were very embarrassed. And for me, it was so painful. That's actually one of the times it was very painful for me because it was a kid. I didn't know how to react.
Yeah, because it's like...
I like, oh. You know what I mean? It took...
You were taken aback.
Yeah, and as much as we feel like we have this rift between Africans and African Americans, do you think of things that kind of bring us together? Because for me, anytime I see a black person, even in, let's say, in Mexico, in Japan... We vibe. You know what I mean?
Outside of the country, we vibe.
Like, bro, you have the same system as mine. And whatever you might go through, I'll go through the same thing.
Yeah, I literally, like, when I was in Taiwan, I keep talking about Taiwan because it's a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I'm one of my really, like, well, we used to be close, but, like, one of my friends that I would consider a friend, his name is Hanif.
Yeah.
I was with my friend Damilola. She came to visit me in Taiwan for her birthday. So I was like, come, we'll have fun, all those things. We were going to Ximen, which is like a popular touristy shopping center area. And we came out of the escalator up from upstairs, and we just saw like this black guy with dreadlocks and everything. And we had the same reaction. He saw us, we saw him, and we just like, oh my God, like, very excited and all that stuff. And literally fostered a relationship just by having that.
Actually, every time
and went on adventures together. He joined us to go on to different places. It was amazing. Like, it felt so good, heartfelt. It was amazing.
Every time I meet African American outside the country, we vibe like we're from the same house.
Yeah, like we're bros or sis.
Like, like everywhere. And
I've had the same experience with everyone I meet outside.
And I have to be honest, in the US sometimes it's hard for me, mostly because of my accent, because anytime they hear my accent, they're like, oh,
you from Africa?
From Africa. and I feel like since the Black Panther movie was released, that kind of brought us a little bit together.
Yeah.
And maybe Obama, I don't know. But things are falling apart. But okay, let's not focus on the negative side. Yes. What do you think we should do to bring, because for me, I feel like this is one house with people from the same house who are having trouble and it has to be resolved.
It's just like different tribes where like literally
Same thing.
like when you're in your own country, you know, there's different tribes that's fighting each other.
Yeah.
That's the same thing here. It's just like on a grander scale. And one of my friends, his name is Efe. He has an organization called People of Culture.
Yeah.
He's in Chicago, and every year he hosts an event, and it's a balance of Africans and African American people. We come together, showcase like our talents, different things like poetry, and like, you know, these prestigious people, like, you know, smart people, all these type of things, like, you know, can be like a lawyer, a financial advisor, or whatever, just to be like, oh, let's talk about this in our community, let's talk about this or whatever. And it's just so beautiful because everyone in that moment is like, oh, we're here like based on like, I don't want to say class, but it's like, it's not about, oh, you're Cameroonian or you're Kenyan, but we're just
and then there's something,
and we teach each other's culture. Yeah, so I think that's what we need to do is teach the culture and like try to, like, anyone you meet, like, it starts from you. You gotta you meet this person, you take it your responsibility to, I mean, a lot of people be like, why should I do that? But if you don't do it, who's gonna do it?
And as an African, actually, this one, if you're an African and you're watching this video, this goes to Africans, because many Africans always say that African Americans are not intelligent, they don't do good in school. Let me tell you, your average American who gets sponsored to come to study in the US, he is very good.
Smart, yes.
Like, very smart.
Exactly.
So this
He's
is
not average.
And actually, I wasn't as smart in school as you can think, but when I came to the States, I was so shocked how things easy were.
Yep.
And for me, I was not top in the class. I was like a middle-level student. And when I came to the US, I was like cracking everything. So
that's how it was for me too. When I came from Nigeria, I actually I tested into a much higher grade, but because of my age, they were like, "Oh, you have to be in 8th grade." But I think my mom wanted me to be in the same age group as my friends.
Yeah.
And so 7th and 8th grade, I was bored. Yeah. Because I learned all those things in boarding school.
I know.
And I went to boarding school when I was 10, so it's like I learned all these things. Or 11, something like that, and it's like. So in America, they're like, "Oh, you're super smart," and I was like, "No, I learned this before."
I remember I was doing a test, and I finished in like 20 minutes. I think you were supposed to do like for like an hour,
60 minutes.
And I was like, "Hey, I think I'm done." And the lady was like, "Go through it again."
Make sure you
I'm like, "I got it. I'm done."
You're probably like, "No, I finished 10 minutes ago, and I used 10 minutes to look at it, so now I'm done." Like,
yeah. So think of an African who has been sponsored to come to Northwestern University or Yale or Harvard.
They gotta be top of it.
Their IQ standard is just, you can't compete. So I want to say, don't feel like you're not as intelligent. We're all intelligent. And also want to say that whatever African Americans can go through, Africans will go through the same thing. Yeah. Because when a white guy is want to call you a nigger, they don't ask you if you're from Africa.
Wait, are you from Nigeria? Oh,
no,
okay, you're not.
No,
you're from Mississippi? Oh, yeah.
And we have to be honest. You know, like many people always feel like these things have to be addressed every day, because I can never imagine that one day our ancestors, both of them, they were not African Americans or Africans. They were both black from the continent. They were in chains. That's a fact. There's a reason why you have an English name.
I don't have an English name.
Wow, I didn't know that. I have what?
My parents did not name us.
I've never seen a white guy with an African name.
Yes.
I think
my kids will not have English names. They'll have Ishakiri names.
And that shows you how colonized we've been, colonized even in our minds. Because if you tell a white guy, hey, white African names are comfortable to understand, they'll be like, oh, why that? I'm like, bro, we also have the power to exist.
Oh, wait, I wanted to say something about the intelligence part. I always, I tutor kids. I tutor from, first grade all the way through 12th grade. And I do math and science. But what I've learned is a lot of kids, everyone is smart. But you're smart at certain things.
That's right.
So if you're like telling somebody, oh, that hates math, and you're always bringing them down because they don't do well in math, but they do well in history, or
sports,
art, English, reading, writing, you can't call that person dumb or they're not smart because they're not good at math. That's not their strength. So what I always advise parents to do, advise, I don't know the right word. Anyway, what I always recommend is feed what your child is good at.
That's right.
And then they're going to be so
There's a reason
amazing.
why.
They're gonna blossom so.
There's a reason
well.
why we have musicians, we have actors.
Because imagine a musician and you're trying to force the person to do this, and then they're like, it doesn't make sense in their brain. So why would you try to force it? That's why, you know, with school, you learn about everything, and then college is supposed to be like where you specialize in certain things or in life or whatever. But my experience, I came here when I was 12. When I was 15, my mom took us back to Nigeria. I went to boarding school. They put me in the arts department because they're like, oh, you're American, so you're going to find the classes hard or something like that. I don't like writing. I don't like all those like religious classes. I don't like, you know, English, all those type of things when it comes to math and science, technology, all that stuff. I'm really good at it. So I only did well in those classes. And then the other classes, I didn't really like it. My dumbass was like, oh, I'm going to fail those classes on purpose so that they can put me in the science department. Because they have three different departments, science, social science, and arts. Yeah. So I wanted to be in the science. And all my friends that I congregated with were in the science. So I'm like, I want to be part of that too. And so after winter break, they brought us back to school. And I told my mom, I'm not getting out of the car unless they switch me over to a different the different program. And it took like hours. I literally sat in the car. I was very stubborn. It took me hours. We went to the principal office, and the principal was like, how do we know that you're going to do well when you failed all your classes? And I was like, you do have a point there. But if you check, you know, on my homework and all these things in these classes, you know, I'm excelling it. I'm like literally top of the class.
That's right.
First, second, third. So there, I was like, okay, let's make a deal. So let's try, like, put me in science. If I don't perform well,
then they can take
you can switch me back.
That's interesting.
And so me and two of my closest friends to today, we were like in the same class, and we're always a competition between there was four of us actually. It was always a competition between me, Emmanuel, Damilola, Diary Girl. It was just like the four of us. If I come first in this subject, the other person comes first in the other subject, and it was just like interchanging. And I did great. Because I'm like, this is where I belong. Where
else can we get this kind of information except from this lady? That's how magical she is. We're getting close to our end.
And yes.
Yeah, we're getting close to the end of the podcast. And I want to say that this is legendary, for sure. But before I finish, I also want to give credits to everybody who's trying to bring people together. As you see all these topics we talk about here, we have people who have fought for justice, both black, white, and all kind of races. Actually, I remember during the protest, there's a white guy who was killed, who was trying to fight for the rights of black people. He was shot in Wisconsin. You remember that guy?
No.
Who had a skateboard?
No.
Kylie Rittenhouse was shot.
Oh, right.
And we have so many white folks who have died trying to fight for justice. We have people who have done so much. We have black people who have stood in a way to make sure that white people also get respected, because I know it's all vice versa. And it has to be everybody in the planet, and we can make this place a better place for us, our kids, and our grandkids, and the future generations. Hey,
whenever I decide to have kids,
you must have kids. I'm an African brother, so
I get pressured by that.
You need to find someone who can make you pregnant.
Yes, get her pregnant. We need her child. We need her offspring.
That's right. Anyway, guys, it was nice.
Don't find compatibility.
It was nice spending time with you. Yeah, until next time, please don't forget to click subscribe.
And call me Sengwa.
Sengwa. If you want me to...
That means beautiful and
if you want to connect with her, send me a message. She's single and she looks fly.
I'll be ready to date in 3 months.
In 3 months. Yeah. So right now, in the next 3 months, you guys can go and work out. Go to the gym.
Why 3 months?
I don't know. I'll be back in America by then.
Why? Where are you going now?
I'm going to Nigeria.
All right, guys. Until next time.